Welcome to another In Wheel Time podcast, a 30-minute mini version of the In Wheel Time car show that airs live every Saturday morning, 8 to 11 a.m. Central.
Live from Studio A, it's the In Wheel Time Car Talk Show. Coming up, we speak with Tim Esterdahl, who's preparing to show his farm truck for the Woodward Dream Cruise.
All right.
I'll have this week's In Wheel Time Car Clinic, and we'll have more automotive news. Howdy, along with Mike Mars. We need more Jeff Zekin. And today, sitting in for Don Armstrong is David Ainsley. Don is in Wisconsin wearing his cheesehead hat. And
enjoying the cooler weather.
And enjoying the cooler weather.
Hopefully, he's getting a little rain. Bring some back.
Yeah.
So Tom's off. Don's off this weekend, and our next guest is Tim Esterdahl, fulfilling his dream and doing one of the bucket list things I wish I'd have done so far in my life, and that's going to the Woodward Dream Cruise. Tim, how you doing?
Good, doing well.
Tell us about what you're doing with your truck.
Start with where you got your truck.
What's that?
Tell us where you got your truck. I think that's part of the interesting story leading up to this.
Well, there is a lot to talk about. I got to tell you guys listening on early on, I'm just letting you know I'm not in a Speedo this morning. Just being clear about that.
God of that.
Neither am I.
And it's a 1962. It's a farm truck. It's from a farm in Wyoming that my wife's family owned. It's actually her grandfather's old work truck. And so there's lots of character marks about working on a farm with that farm truck, going through barbed wire fences, getting a door hit by posts. It's got a lot of character in that truck. I drove it. I got it out of the barn, kind of a barn find rescue situation, and got it running. Ran it for about a year. Engine crapped out on me, so then I got another engine, used engine that did it right, and then I just spent the big money and have a new 350 V8 in there. It has like 375 horsepower. It's got a bigger crank, and then it's got the 700 R4 transmission, new drive shaft, new wiring harness. I got a new Keskin seat in there. I got new lighting. So it's dramatically changed. And so what I wanted to do was I wanted to show it off. And so I have a Silverado right now. I buy a new truck for the channel every year. I had a Silverado. I modified that as well, and then I put it on a trailer and towed the 62 to Michigan with my Silverado. Took 2 days of driving. It's like 1,200 miles each way, and fun experiences. I was running out of gas, putting a hole in my tailgate. Let's see, getting
Fun stuff.
Hot air blown in Omaha. Yeah, it was interesting.
So your 62 has a modern drivetrain, but it still has the farm truck patina, so to speak.
It's what you guys would call a resto mod, and I think it's more. It's changing. It's interesting. I was talking to my dad about it. There's a Back to the Bricks event there in Flint, and then there's Woodward Dream Cruise. And it's interesting. You see a collection of fully restored trucks, and then you're starting to see more of these resto mods. I think it's a generational thing. Like my generation, does more resto mods, more rat rods, that kind of things. But the reality of things is I just like the way it looks. And I'm not going to spend $40,000 on make them look, all the bodywork and paint. I think it looks great.
Is this your first time at the Woodward Cruise?
Actually, I grew up in Michigan. And so as a kid, we would go down there,
Yeah,
like
me
you,
too.
Ray.
I remember younger.
So, you went down there, you saw it, and it was part, car culture in Michigan is the big deal.
Yeah.
So,
it's beyond anything else, yeah.
Yeah, I always thought it'd be kind of cool to, and so I've been to Woodward Dream Cruise numerous times as a kid, and I went as an adult a couple times, and I thought, how cool would it be to have this Nebraska farm truck? It's actually had Nebraska plates on it now. Wouldn't it be cool to be sitting out there and just getting people's attention? And it did. I think I parked at I have several sponsors, Fuel Wheels and American Racing, and American Racing had me park at their booth, and that was really fun to have the truck sit in the booth and park there. And then there was a conversation about Friday night. I took it down and I dropped it off at the booth, and then Saturday my dad and my mom and I went down to go pick it up, and I was going to take my trailer down and trailer it back, and I said, no, screw that. I said, I spent all this money out, let's drive it.
There you go.
So I drove it home.
That's
50 miles.
The cruise,
50 miles took me like 35 miles took me like an hour to get home because I did the back roads. I wasn't driving on the highways. And had an interesting experience. I started it up, and the idle went crazy on me. For whatever reason, as I'm driving down Woodward, it just went to 2,200 RPMs at like 10 miles an hour. And so I remember stopping at a stoplight, and I'm literally my butt off the seat, my foot on the brake, because it doesn't have power brakes. That's one thing I did not get done. I had power steering and everything else, did not get power brakes done. And holding the thing back. And then next stoplight, I got smart. I'm like, I'll put it in park. Well, park got the idle even higher. And when I put it in gear, I was roasting the tires off the line.
Wow.
So I was like, all right, it's got plenty of power.
It's
I just
Woodward
need power
Dream
brakes.
Cruise. I mean, why not?
Well, plus it's
Right.
probably still got drum front brakes on it, so it makes it even harder to stop.
It's drum all the way around.
Yeah. And then, when I was there, obviously younger, and now I think it's getting a little bit more commercialized or way over the top commercialized, in my opinion. You've got sponsorships of parking lots and a lot of the extracurricular peripheral stuff that
Everybody's
really
showing their wares.
sometimes doesn't need to be part of it, but it is, a big national event too.
Yeah, I think that's a really good mix. So, like, we went back to the Bricks, which is in Flint. The downtown Flint has brick streets, and so cobblestone, whatever, brick streets, and they actually park cars so the front tires are on the bricks. So it's called Back to the Bricks Roll.
Yep.
You can walk around. So they had probably 400 cars there. I mean, it was like you could spend 3-4 hours walking around. And but you get done with Woodward Dream Cruise, and there's all these little pockets. Like there's Mopar groups and Ford Mustang groups, and you have little commercial groups, and you have people just sitting there parked. And we went to the parking lot, went to Coney Island, as you would there in Woodward and Royal Oak, and there was people in regular cars and beater cars, and then all these hoods popped with all these classic cars. So it's just an interesting mix of culture.
It is.
And then being able to drive around Woodward and I'm driving my 62 next to a Lambo and a Hummer or like an old Mustang, and you're in traffic with the vehicles, which is, I think, the really cool part with Woodward Dream Cruise is you can go down there and you can cruise with the classics and be that close to the cars you grew up with as a youth.
Exactly.
So how much attention did your 62 draw, considering I'm sure it had the visual draw of it, and then once you pop the hood on it, people got a chance to see that it was, a little bit resto modded. Not heavily. It's not like you put an LS in it and tubbed it out, but still, I'm assuming
There's still time.
a Chevy Crate
Talking
350 in it with a turbo.
Yeah, it's rebuilt. It's a rebuilt 350 from Wyoming. We have a company out here that rebuilds basically the 350s. And I don't know if I don't think I could drive it with an LS. I don't think it just got enough curb weight.
Well, I would
That thing is
suggest I'd suggest getting your brakes fixed first.
right.
Yeah, do the brake upgrade.
It was funny. I'll tell you the whole story. I got down there Friday night, and I'm setting up. I wanted to set my truck off the trailer. I brought it down for them. They were setting up their booth, and we got initially told no, that I couldn't park my truck there. And there was kind of a big hubbub about it because next door was a Ford booth, the electric car Ford booth, and the lady who was running that booth was throwing a fit that you can't have a Chevy parked next to a Ford booth. And this was I'm thinking to myself, like, what are you talking about? Like, this happens all the time. And so there was a lot of back and forth. And finally, the sponsor I was there with just kind of called them out and said, you know what? I'm not paying the dollars if I can't park the trucks here. And they backed down. So, initially I'm like, holy cow, I drove all this way and now I can't even show it there, was the first thought. And then I finally get it there. And we did the back to Bricks in the morning, and we drove down to Woodward in the afternoon. When I got down there, the hood wasn't open. So I walked over to the guys. I'm like, well, just pop the hood. I'm like, oh. So I pop the hood, and I walk away, and I'm kind of looking back, and I can see people now coming over to it and looking at it. And it was really funny. They had the Hoonigan Camaro there, which is, I don't follow that crowd very much, but a very modified Camaro.
Oh, yeah.
And two things happened. First of all, we're standing there Friday night, and they're having to push this car in because I don't know why it won't start. And I had said to my sponsor, I said, my old 62 farm truck runs.
Let's push it.
And he didn't think that was too funny, but I thought it was hilarious, right? And then we went to Starbucks next door, and I'm getting my coffee, and the guy walks up, the Starbucks the barista, and he's like, "Is that your old farm truck?" And so we started talking for a while about, because everybody's got an old farm truck story. Most everybody's got a story that grandpa had one, or the uncle had one on the farm, whatever.
Yep.
And so talking to him, so I walked up to my sponsor. I said, "See, I'm getting more attention than your hopped up Camaro there, dude."
Yeah. So the next booth,
rub it in a little bit.
In
there.
the Ford booth, was Karen okay with that? I mean,
no, you know what? So I have some contacts at Ford. I have some pretty high level people, and I thought about making a phone call. My phone was open a few times with text messages flying open. I thought, you know what? This is not my battle. And then I was there Saturday. They were like making amends and this, that, and the other. And I'm just like, you guys, this is ridiculous. Get yourself together.
Yeah, you got nothing better to do than fight over this. Yeah.
It's a car event. It's a car
show.
shush.
Yeah.
Enjoy it.
Yeah, it was interesting. So he got quite a bit of quite a bit of exposure there, and it's got those American racing wheels on it, Firestone tires, and it just looks amazing when you get it all together. And then Katzkin's something that Katzkin needs to promote more, in my opinion, is they're doing a new company called So Express. They're doing car seat covers for classic vehicles, which is, if you know that market, it's really impossible to find a quality car seat cover. Even the magazines and things, they just don't carry the quality that Katzkin can provide. Yeah. So that was really nice to have a nice seat. The only the funny story about that seat was I ordered 3 inches of foam from Amazon. I found out the day before that the company put in the car. So Katzkin sponsored the seat. They sewed it, and they wanted me to go down to Denver and have the seat installed, which Denver for me is a couple hours away. And so I thought, that's great. I'll have the guy do it, and I'll pick the seat up. So we went down there, dropped the seat off. Well, I wanted new foam because the foam in the seat was from 62. It's like a 1/4 inch thick that's been beaten down for years, right? Mm-hmm. So Amazon had 3 inches of foam next day delivery, but 2 inches was like 3 or 4 days out, and 5, whatever. So that's 3 inches. So I go down there, I get the seat installed, and I get the seat done. I bring it back home. I put it in the truck, and I go for a drive. Remember, I put power steering in the truck, but I did not put a new steering wheel.
Oh.
I had about 1/8 of an inch between my manhood and the bottom steering wheel.
Well, yeah,
so any bump was going to be like a...
Can't say manhood in here.
Yeah, you're going to need it. A little painful. Well, yeah, because vehicles without power steering had the bigger steering wheel in them, so you could get leverage to make the turn. And you didn't compensate for that.
No, so I had an emergency phone call Friday with Holly before Holly guy was walking out to the Dodge event, the I don't know what the street event there in Michigan is. And we had to overnight a steering wheel, and then that got in that Monday. So Monday, I was at my friend's garage for 9 hours putting Firestone sent me some ride right airbags. We installed that system, and then we had to my steering wheel arrived, and so we had to drive over and get the steering wheel installed because I was leaving the next morning. And so, I mean, frantic last minute kind of deals.
Last minute thrashing,
it's always the way.
It is. It's always a thrash.
Yeah.
I'm so glad I did, because the steering wheel I got is like a 14-inch versus like the 17-inch, so I could drive it nicely and not have any concerns.
There you go.
Don't worry about having to get married again.
Yeah.
So,
exactly.
So, do you have any pictures you could share with us?
Yeah, I sent Michael over some.
He sent me some that I did not get loaded up on
I was going to
Jeff's
say,
computer.
that's okay.
Yeah, my bad. Our fault.
So that just means you got to go back next year and get photos.
Yeah, I don't know. It was really cool to be there and to get all done. And again, great sponsors modify. I was going to start with just modifying the 62, but then I opened up to do modifying Silverado, and that was fun from a journalist standpoint. I've been a journalist now for 12 years to actually modify stuff. Like I took the bumper off the Silverado, put in a Fab Forge bumper in, put a worn winch in, and going through the process, hooking that up, and then we had powder coated the bumpers and all the different wheels I had going with the I had fuel wheels on the truck with Firestone tires as well. I think it just looks really good, and it's really a nice
compliment.
It's fun to build something up. Yeah, the 62. I have a dry erase board, and I still have I'm gonna go 10 more items to work on that truck.
Punch list.
And when I unloaded the truck, I actually put it parked in my rock bed, whatever, my rock driveway, and I noticed behind the front driver's side there was this little hole that was hanging down. I'm like, what the hell is that? So I kind of crawl underneath, and it's the bottom of the shock mount. Somehow my bolt disappeared.
Oh,
I'm like, great.
Yeah, just
one more thing to fix.
Some windshield behind you picked it up along the way.
Right, yeah.
That's cool. So one thing I wanted to ask you about the Woodward Cruise. You were talking about things were kind of scattered out. That was one of the things we looked at back pre-COVID when we actually thought we might get a chance to go up there. But we started looking. It was kind of where do you go? I mean, there's no really central point to it, is there?
No, I think that's one that makes the event really cool. Is Woodward Avenue is like 16 miles long.
Right.
And so you can basically pick a spot anywhere you want along that strip. Granted, there's some spots you can't sit, whatever, but you'll see people that have their houses on Woodward Avenue, and they'll just walk out the back, open their gate, put some lawn chairs up, sit right there. Mm-hmm. And then you get the big parking lots where people fill up parking lots. There's some, Ford's now the sponsor, been the last 6 years, I think. And so they have a bigger boost now. They rent out parking lots. And so you can find a spot that, like I said, the biggest thing is just, it's a rally. People go down and around to go just cruising. So you really, anywhere on that Woodward Avenue, you're basically part of it. The more you get down to 11 mile, 12 mile, somewhere down the range.
Yep.
You're more in the heart of it, and that's interesting. But it's just a gigantic party, and it's always funny, all the burnouts, because we were coming up to this spot and we saw this big, dust cloud or big cloud, right? And we're like, it's like black and it's gray. And we're like, man, what caught on fire? Because a lot of times classic vehicles don't make it. Luckily, I have a new radiator and I didn't overheat.
Right.
But so we're driving along. We're like, oh, looking at that, and we can't see it. And all of a sudden we see police lights. We're like, oh man, something happened over there. And look over and it's a Challenger sitting there. Guy sitting, big smile on his face, in the front seat, getting pulled over, doing
Getting a ticket. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, but you just sit there and you'll see burnouts all over the place, and you see revving engines.
Well, and you budget for it. Hey, I'm going to the Woodward Dream Cruise. I need to make sure I have $500 to pay for my burnout ticket.
Yeah. Now, you said you're from Michigan, and you should know this. I'm hoping you know that Woodward Avenue is the first street in America to be paved. That's the first paved street in America is Woodward Avenue. Also, the Detroit Police Department was the first police department in the U.S. to have motorcycles, and that motorcycle was Harley Davidson.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
A little bit of history for you.
Michigan trivia.
Michigan trivia. There you go. So
And Mary Barra makes $29 million a year
That's
to
the last
destroy
one.
General Motors.
You're off. We'll turn him down.
Yeah. Cut him.
So what part of Michigan did you grow up in?
So I'm actually, it's interesting. I'm actually a GM brat. I was born in Wisconsin.
We all are.
Moved to Indiana, then moved to Michigan. And my dad was with the kind of truck engineering side. And so ended up being in Flushing because he worked in Flint. He worked at the QPC, Quality Product Control Center, I think is what it's called. And then he moved down to Ortonville because he was working down in Warren at Tech Center down in Warren. So kind of right in the middle of the state, right along the Clarkston, Waterford area, that the kind of area there. And so I graduated high school in Ortonville, a high school called Grandin.
Very good. Very good.
Yeah.
So Tim, so you've been a journalist for like 12 years. And you've obviously gotten really good at it, been very successful at it. What are you going to do next now that you've got Sweet and you've made it up to the Woodward Dream Cruise? You always got something going on. I
know. So I'm getting some body work done on the Silverado right now. I had a little hail damage, and then I haven't talked about this very publicly, but I was loading the trailer.
We're friends here. Nobody will know.
Yeah. So I'll tell you, because I'm getting it fixed, and now that I'm getting it fixed, it's getting a lot less of an issue. But I was using a friend's trailer, and I had the ball on the mount, and I knew it wasn't quite right, but I thought it was. I just went
good
for
enough.
I was in a hurry. It was a perfect storm, right? I was in a hurry late at night trying to get this thing loaded up, and it was kind of getting dark, and so I put my 62 on a trailer, and the trailer lifted up in the air. My 62 pushed the trailer forward right into the tailgate. Naturally.
Yeah.
So what's interesting is that's like $1,000 for a tailgate, but I had a few hail spots on it. I was out of town, and I parked at the airport and got a little hail, and they said there's $11,000 of hail damage on that truck, which I was like, holy cow! I counted 7 dents in the hood. I think. I mean, I wasn't looking that closely. So when that all gets finished. I will be selling the Silverado, and I'll be buying another truck. And I haven't announced what the truck's going to be, but I'll buying something, and I'll probably be modifying that quite a bit. And then I'll still do some stuff with Swede. I mean, Swede's got, like I said, a whole host of things to do. So the idea here is that, as you guys know, as journalists, we get press loans. So I get press loans once a week. So when I don't have a press loan and I don't have a truck, because I'll be in between trucks for a little while, Swede's my backup truck. That he's going to be what I'm going to use to get around town. And my town's 5 miles long, so it's not that big of a chore.
Not that many miles.
Except when it snows, and Swede doesn't like the snow.
Who does?
It's uphill both ways.
Yeah. Two-wheel drive farm truck. I did the sand in the back. I did snow tires. It's like driving while you're drunk. You just can't. There's nothing. It's just I'm over here, there.
Doesn't work well.
Learn how to drift, right?
What the hell?
Yeah. And so people always tell me like, oh, you'll be fine. Put sandbags in, And so that's always my thing. What I want to do, and I thought about this when I drove back Woodward. I thinking about driving. I'd love to drive Swede like a long distance to a car show, because think about like back as you guys a little older than I am, I think. People used to do this. People would drive 62. You did a road trip with these vehicles, right?
That's right.
And so I'd love to do a nostalgic kind of road trip with it. And I also wanted to I need to do it here soon. I want to do a fuel economy test. So I always do like a 100-mile fuel economy test. And because everybody says to me, they're like, well, you should get 20 or you should get 16. Nobody knows. Nobody really knows what these classic trucks get.
Tim, we've got a Chrome and Coffee tomorrow, Sunday, over here. And so you're welcome to come and join that if you want to take a little road trip.
Yeah.
Chrome and Coffee
down
tomorrow,
in the spring for
9 to 11.
Texas Hot Rod Tour of Texas. You could
exactly.
do that.
You talked earlier about EVs and planning out your trip with EVs. I think with classic vehicles, it's the same deal.
Sure.
The same thought process. It's funny how society's changed. I always bring up the comment from the Cars movie where you drove on Route 66 to have a good time, not make good time. And now society's like, did you make good time? Like when I towed to Michigan, I did not make good time. I was an hour later where I went because I was towing. I didn't want to go, be more careful. But I always think that we're getting back to where transportation's a journey. And I think that's what's great about Sweden, different events like this and doing this stuff. It's like the trip was part of the experience. The trip wasn't about getting there and getting there as fast as I could. The trip was part of the experience.
So do you have a family you take with you or just by yourself?
I was by myself. The Dream Cruise, the timing is terrible. It's the 2 days before my kids go back to school.
Oh, boy.
And so, and they would love to come. It's just, my boys would love to come to this event. But I can't. And Detroit is, I don't know what is Detroit. Detroit's impossible for me to get to. Like, it's so funny. I travel, I'm on the road probably twice a month on average. And getting to Detroit is just terrible. So I can't actually fly them in that Friday night and have them back on Sunday. It just doesn't work.
No.
Well, plus Detroit's just a big, huge pothole anyhow, and it'll damage your vehicle if you're not real careful.
There is a lot of construction. Absolutely.
Oh, it was orange. It was orange cone zone the entire way. I got stuck in Indiana. I actually almost ran out of fuel in Iowa. That was kind of funny. I have a Banks iDash in the corner of my truck to check regen cycle and the engine temperatures. And I was driving along and all of a sudden it flashed at me and said low fuel. I was like, what do you mean low fuel? I looked down, I was like, oh crap. So I had like 50 miles of range left, 30 miles of range, something like that. I had to pull over immediately to get fuel. And of course, the station I pull into is really, really busy. And I have a diesel. And so I can only use the outside pumps typically. And so I'm sitting there and turning the truck off.
As you say, plus pulling a trailer.
Plus pulling a trailer and waiting. And the thing with the Silverado is the 3-liter diesel is amazing. I love that engine, but they put a 24-gallon fuel tank in there. So I got 300 miles of range. It was like driving an EV. I mean, I had to literally every time pull over, stop, and I was stopping for fuel. I was stopping there and 20, 30 minutes. And
when your truck goes into regeneration, you can literally watch the gas gauge go down as it overfuels the DPF on it.
Yeah, and so and the other thing that was interesting, I went through 12 and a half gallons of DEF.
Oh my gosh.
Good.
Well, we appreciate it.
Listen, Tim, we appreciate you taking the time to talk to us on Saturday morning. I wish we could talk about some more, but we got a couple of other things that we got to get in here. The website, what's the name of the website?
PickupTruckTalk.com.
That's right. And it's on YouTube, got the website, got everything about trucks. It's really a good website to go and see things. He also does a live stream on Monday nights. Yep. I've been on it a couple of times. You and some of Jill and some other people join you, and it's pretty good too.
All right. We appreciate
Tim,
it.
thanks you a lot, sir.
I think, guys, have a good day.
Take it. So next up is we're going to do Conrad's Car Clinic, and this week we're going to talk about
let's move the car clinic down to here because of the time. Jeff, you got a couple of headlines
recalls.
You can throw out? Recalls would be good.
This is excuse me. This is for Honda American Motor Company. Loss of drive power, Honda Accord Hybrid 2023 and Honda CR-V Hybrid 2023. The next one would be a Hyundai Motor America. Software error may cause unintended acceleration. Hyundai Elantra HEV, the 21 model through 23 model. And the last one I have here, engine failure, Volkswagen Atlantis of 2024 model. And there you have it.
Complete engine failure.
Yep.
Yeah, complete engine failure.
There you go.
only once.
Yeah.
That's all you need.
And then they recalled it.
Yep.
All right.
Got to go.
So we'd love to hear from you. You got something you'd like to get a hold of us, just shoot us an email. The address is info@inwheeltime.com.
All right.
So we're going to take a break now. You're on the In Wheel Time Car Talk Show.
The original group of Loopy Tortilla restaurants will have you telling your family and friends just what the original recipes mean when it comes to the best fajitas in Southeast Texas. Founder Stan Holt invites you to visit the original Loopy Tortilla near I-10 and Highway 6. Here's the original house that inspired the design of all the rest and the original charm that helped make Loopy Tortilla the go-to destination for Houston Tex-Mex. Speaking of original, nothing can compete with the original lime pepper marinade that everyone will agree makes Loopy Tortilla award-winning beef fajitas the best anywhere. Loopy Tortilla Katy is another location that gives you the same quality and service Houstonians have come to expect at Loopy's. It's located just off I-10 and the Grand Parkway at Kingsland Boulevard in Katy. Find yourself in Aggie Land? Head to the Loopy Tortilla in College Station, located just around the corner from Kyle Field. It's a great place to enjoy those famous frozen margaritas before or after the game. Headed east to Louisiana, stop in at the Loopy Tortilla in Beaumont. It too's on I-10. You can't miss it. The original group of Loopy Tortilla restaurants invites you in for the best Tex-Mex anywhere. You own a car you love. Well, why not let Gulf Coast Auto Shield protect it? Houstonian John Gray invites you to his state-of-the-art facility to introduce you to his specialist team of auto enthusiasts. We promise you'll be impressed. Whether you're looking to massage your original paint to a like-new appearance, apply a ceramic coating, install a paint protection film, nano-ceramic window tint, or new windshield protection called ExoShield, Gulf Coast Auto Shield is where Houston's car people go. Curbed your wheels? Instead of buying new, why not have them repaired? How about a professionally installed radar detector? Gulf Coast Auto Shield does that too. Get a peek inside the shop and look at the services offered by getting online and heading to gcautoshield.com. Better yet, stop by their facility at 11275 South Sam Houston Tollway, just south of the Southwest Freeway, and get a personal tour. Gulf Coast Auto Shield is your place to go for all things exterior. Call them today, 832-930-5655 or gcautoshield.com. The award-winning In Wheel Time Car Talk Show is available on the most popular podcast channels out there in 30-minute episodes. We realize our 3-hour live show can be difficult to catch in its entirety, so now you can listen every day to a convenient, fresh 30-minute episode. Check us out on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, and Audible, along with a dozen more. In Wheel Time has the most informative automotive guest interviews and new car reviews, along with popular features including Conrad's Car Clinic and This Week in Auto History, along with automotive news headlines. Our live broadcast airs every Saturday, 8 to 11 Central on InWheelTime.com, the iHeart app, and on YouTube. Be sure to say hello when we're broadcasting from the Tailpipes and Tacos Cruise Inn, Autorama, and the Houston Auto Show, among others. Now, it's easier than ever to hear about all things automotive all week long. You're invited to join fellow car enthusiasts in becoming part of the ever-growing In Wheel Time Car Talk family. Don't forget those 30-minute podcast episodes on your favorite podcast channel. That's it for this podcast episode of the In Wheel Time Car Show. I'm Don Armstrong, inviting you to join us for our live show every Saturday morning, 8 to 11 a.m. Central on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and our InWheelTime.com website. Podcasts are available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify,